Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayam Udirayet. Nashta Prayeshu Abhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavata Uttama Shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Neshtiki. Om Agyana Timirandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshur Unmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha. Sri Caitanya Manobhistam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam. Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhanvitamscha. He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Rishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prishtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Iti Namine Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shanyavadi Paschatya Veshatarine Panchakalpa Tarubhyascha Kripa Sindhu Vaevacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Jai Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. So we continue our reading of Srimad Bhagavatam Canto 3. Canto 3, Chapter 2, Text 24. Uddhav is recollecting the glories of Sri Krishna, the wonderful qualities of Sri Krishna. Are you all able to see the screen?
Krishna, 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 Krishna,
Manye asuran bhagavatam straya dishe sambhramba marga vivinishta chitan ye samyuge achakshatatarkasya putram amsheshunabhayudham apatantam. I consider the demons who are inimical toward the Lord to be more than the devotees, because while fighting with the Lord, absorbed in thoughts of enmity, they are able to see the Lord carried on the shoulder of Garuda, the son of Kashyap, and carrying the wheel weapon in his hand. So here, Uddhav is saying he thinks that the demons are greater than the devotees. The asuras who fought against the Lord face to face got salvation due to their being killed by the Lord. This salvation of the demons is not due to their being devotees of the Lord. It is because of the Lord's causeless mercy. Anyone who is slightly in touch with the Lord, somehow or the other, is greatly benefited, even to the point of salvation, due to the excellence of the Lord. He is so kind that he awards salvation even to his enemies, because they come into contact with him and are indirectly absorbed in him by their inimical thoughts. So Krishna is so kind, he's so auspicious that anyone who comes in touch with him gets benefited, whether that person is a devotee or a demon. Even though the demons, they want to kill Krishna, they are benefited because Krishna is all auspicious, and so they get liberated. You know, it's just an automatic thing. Like when we are under the water, we get cleaned up. The water cleans our impurities. Similarly, when we are in touch with Krishna, somehow or the other, everyone is benefited. Actually, the demons can never be equal to the pure devotees. But Uddhav was thinking in that way because of his feelings of separation. He was thinking that at the last stage of his life, he might not be able to see the Lord face to face, as did the demons. So here Uddhav is saying that the demons were so fortunate that they could see the Lord while fighting. And so their vision of the Lord was the last thing they saw before leaving the world. And so Uddhav is thinking that, will he be able to get that opportunity? Maybe, maybe not. So he's thinking that the demons are more fortunate than him because he was feeling so much separation from Krishna. Krishna had just left the earth and Uddhav was still here. The fact is that the devotees who are always engaged in devotional service of the Lord in transcendental love are rewarded many hundreds and thousands of times more than the demons by being elevated to the spiritual planets, where they remain with the Lord in eternal blissful existence. So although the demons, they get benefited by entering into the Brahma Jyoti, into the divine light of Krishna, the devotees are blessed even to a greater degree, that they can go to the Vaikuntha planets, to one of the spiritual planets, and remain there eternally, blissfully, in the association of Krishna. The demons and impersonalists are awarded the facility of merging in the Brahma Jyoti effulgence of the Lord, whereas the devotees are admitted into the spiritual planets. And what do the devotees do in the spiritual planets? They have a loving relationship with Krishna, especially if we are in Goloka Vrindavan. Then with Shyam Sundar Krishna, we can have a loving relationship. And that facility is not given to the demons. Although Putana got that. She went to Golok Vrindavan. Krishna raised her to the platform of the nurse, one of the assistants of Yashoda Mai. For comparison, one can just imagine the difference between floating in space and residing in one of the planets in the sky. So the comparison of being in the Brahma Jyoti, what we call the divine light, or to enter into one of the spiritual planets. So Prabhupada is giving the comparison that the difference of being in the Brahma Jyoti and being in the spiritual planets is like, the Brahma Jyoti is like you're floating in the space. Floating in the space, and residing in one of the planets, that's being in one of the spiritual planets. The pleasure of the living entities on the planets is greater than that of those who have no body and who merge with the molecules of the sun's rays. The impersonalists, therefore, are no more favored than the enemies of the Lord. Rather, they are both on the same level of spiritual salvation. So, because just being in the light, just sitting there as a spiritual spark, as a tiny spark, there is some happiness. That happiness is compared to the water in the hoof print of a calf. But the happiness we can get when we are in one of the spiritual planets is compared to an unending ocean of happiness, unending ocean of bliss. And so the impersonalists who want to merge in this divine light, in this Brahma Jyoti, are compared to the enemies of the Lord, because both of them get the same destination. The impersonalists, they want to sit in the divine light, which even the demons, even the enemies of the Lord, also get that same destination. Prabhupada would call impersonalism covered atheism. Covered atheism, because even the impersonalists, they are not able to accept, they don't want to accept that the Supreme Lord is greater than us. Not accepting the supremacy of the Lord. And so, of course, being a devotee of the Lord is always beneficial for us, because Krishna is very kind. He gives himself to the devotees. I was just hearing that Krishna is so merciful to the devotees that he lets them experience more happiness than he experiences himself. He lets the devotees enjoy more than he himself enjoys. That is the super excellent position of being a devotee of the Lord. So we should follow in the footsteps of the devotees. We should follow. We are practicing devotees, so we should follow in the footsteps of the devotees and follow their instructions. Is that okay?
Yes.
So text 25. Vasudevasya devakyam jato bodhika bandhane chikishur bhagavan asyaha sham ajena viyachitaha. The personality of Godhead, Lord Sri Krishna, being prayed to by Brahma to bring welfare to the earth, was begotten by Vasudev in the womb of his wife Devaki in the prison of the king of Bhoja. Although there is no difference between the Lord's pastimes of appearance and disappearance, the devotees of the Lord do not generally discuss the subject matter of his disappearance. Vidura inquired indirectly from Uddhav about the incident of the Lord's disappearance by asking him to relate Krishna Katha, or topics on the history of Lord Krishna. Thus, Uddhav began the topics from the very beginning of his appearance as the son of Vasudeva and Devaki in the prison of Kamsa, the king of the Bhojas at Mathura. The Lord has no business in this world, but when he is so requested by the devotees like Brahma, he descends to the earth for the welfare of the entire universe. This is stated in Bhagavad Gita 4.8, Paritranaya sadhunam vinashaya chaduskritam dharma samsthapanarthaya sambhavami yuge yuge. So Krishna's appearance and disappearance are equal. The pastimes are all transcendental, but the devotees of the Lord do not like to speak about the disappearance of the Lord. They only like to speak about the appearance of the Lord, the glorious activities of the Lord. And so Vidur, he did not directly ask about the Lord's disappearance. He asked Uddhav about Krishna's pastimes. He asked Krishna's topics. And so Uddhav is taking great pleasure in speaking about the Lord from his very appearance in the womb of Devaki. Text 26. Tato nanda brajam itaha pitra kamsad vibhiyata ekadasha samas tatra gudar chihi sabalo avasat. Thereafter, his father, being afraid of Kams, brought him to the cow pastures of Maharaj Nanda, and there he lived for 11 years, like a covered flame with his elder brother Baladeva. There was no necessity of the Lord's being dispatched to the house of Nanda Maharaj out of fear of Kamsa's determination to kill him as soon as he appeared. It is the business of the Asuras to try to kill the Supreme Personality of Godhead, or to prove by all means that there is no God, or that Krishna is an ordinary human being and not God. So actually Krishna is God, and he didn't need to leave the prison house. He could have killed Kamsa even while he was a baby. He could have done that. And but Krishna is not, he's not ordinary living being. Lord Krishna is not affected by such determination of men of Kamsa's class. But in order to play the role of a child, he agreed to be carried by his father to the cow pastures of Nanda Maharaj because Vasudeva was afraid of Kamsa. So to let that fatherly feeling, that relationship get more intense, Krishna allowed Vasudeva to take him to the house of Nanda Maharaj. And also in the house of Nanda Maharaj, he performs such wonderful, wonderful pastimes, which attracts everyone's heart. Nanda Maharaj was due to receive him as a child, and Yashoda Mai was also to enjoy the childhood pastimes of the Lord. And therefore, to fulfill everyone's desire, he was carried from Mathura to Vrindavan, just after his appearance in the prison house of Kamsa. So Krishna, he didn't need to be going to Vrindavan, but to fulfill the desires of the devotees. So we can see how Krishna's all the activities are for the pleasure of the devotees. Nanda Maharaj and Yashoda Mai, they had prayed so that they could observe the childhood pastimes of Krishna. And so now they were getting this opportunity. Vasudev wanted to protect Krishna. He had that feeling. So he was getting the opportunity. So Krishna is not like us. We are forced to act. We have to act, but Krishna acts for the pleasure of the devotees, to protect his devotees, to please them. That's all he wants to do. He wants to please his devotees. As the devotees wants to please Krishna, Krishna wants to please the devotees. He lived there for 11 years and completed all his fascinating pastimes of childhood, boyhood, and adolescence with his elder brother, Lord Baladev, his first expansion. Vasudev's thought of protecting Krishna from the wrath of Kamsa is part of a transcendental relationship. The Lord enjoys more when someone takes him as his subordinate son who needs the protection of a father than he does when someone accepts him as the Supreme Lord. He is the father of everyone and he protects everyone. But when his devotee takes it for granted that the Lord is to be protected by the devotee's care, it is a transcendental joy for the Lord. So Krishna is protecting each and every one of us. He is our maintainer. But in the relationship, when we have these 5 kinds of sweet, loving relationship, we have an exchange of love with Krishna. He enjoys that relationship very much. He will continue to anyway maintain us, even when we are in that relationship. But the sweetness of the relationship is more intense. Then for example, Vasudeva is not regarding Krishna as, oh, you are my maintainer, you are my protector. But because of his fatherly love for Krishna, he wants to protect Krishna, he wants to maintain Krishna, and Krishna really enjoys that. He really relishes that and appreciates that. Thus, when Vasudeva, out of fear of Kamsa, carried him to Vrindavan, the Lord enjoyed it. Otherwise, he had no fear from Kamsa or anyone else. So it's not that Krishna ran out of Mathura in fear of Kamsa. He just he allowed Vasudeva to take him to Mathura so that all the devotees' love could be intensified. Is that okay?
Yeah, very nice.
Text 27. Parito vatsapervata vatsams charayan vyaharad vipuhu yamuno pavane kujat dvija sankulitang gripe. In his childhood, the Almighty Lord was surrounded by cowherd boys and calves, and thus he traveled on the shore of the Yamuna River through gardens densely covered with trees and filled with vibrations of chirping birds. Nanda Maharaj was a landholder for King Kamsa, but because by caste he was a Vaishya, a member of the mercantile and agricultural community, he maintained thousands of cows. It is the duty of the Vaishyas to give protection to the cows, just as the Kshatriyas are to give protection to the human beings. So in the Varna Sharma Dharma, in the proper division of society that Krishna had made, the Kshatriyas are supposed to protect all the living entities of that state, not only the human beings, but also the animals, the plants, everyone. And the Vaishyas, they were in charge of specifically the cow protection, agriculture, farming, trading. Now in Kali Yuga, this Varna Sharma system does not exist anymore. And that's why Prabhupada wanted to establish the devi Varna Sharma, and therefore we have many farm communities which are trying to do that, living off the farm, living a simple life where certain people, according to the natural ability, are in charge of protecting the others. They're in charge of management and administration. Then some, according to their natural ability, are engaged in farming. And then some, according to the natural ability, do the deity worship, teach the shastras, you know. And then, of course, the others, according to the natural ability, then they are being appointed, assisting the other three. So Devi Varna Sharma is what Srila Prabhupada wanted to establish in the world, so that each and every one of us could live peacefully and according to our nature, work according to our nature, live peacefully, and at the same time cultivate spiritual knowledge and make this our last life and go back home, back to Godhead. So because the Lord was a child, he was put in charge of the calves with his cowherd boyfriends. So Krishna was, the small children were not given to take care of the big cows. They were given the charge of small calves because they were small children. No? These cowherd boys were great rishis and yogis in their previous births. And after many such pious births, they gained the association of the Lord and could play with him on equal terms. Such cowherd boys never cared to know who Krishna was, but they played with him as the most intimate and lovable friend. They were so fond of the Lord that at night they would only think of the next morning when they would be able to meet the Lord and go together to the forest for cow herding. So the cowherd boys, these are not ordinary village boys of cowherd men taking care of calves. No, they are great, great rishis and yogis. Some of them, of course, came from the spiritual world. They are eternally the associates of Krishna. But some of them who were so qualified that they could enter into the pastimes of Krishna, they were great. They had done many pious activities for many, many births. And now they had gotten the opportunity to personally have a loving relationship with Krishna, personally engage in Krishna's pastimes. And they were so attached to Krishna that their love for Krishna exceeded their knowledge that Krishna is God. They were just so attached that they wanted to play with him the whole time. They were excited to meet the Lord the next morning. So like we should also be like that. When we are sleeping at night, we should also try to have that excitement. Oh, I'm going to chant in the next morning. So let me be excited to meet the Lord in the morning. You know. So the forests on the shore of the Jamuna are all beautiful gardens full of trees of mango, jackfruit, apples, guava, oranges, grapes, berries, palm fruit, and so many other plants and fragrant flowers. And because the forest was on the bank of the Jamuna, naturally there were ducks, cranes, and peacocks on the branches of the trees. All these trees and birds and beasts were pious living entities born in the transcendental abode of Vrindavan, just to give pleasure to the Lord and his eternal associates, the cowherd boys. So the living entities in Vrindavan, when Krishna appeared, they are all pure devotees of the Lord. They are not ordinary living ordinary living entities, but they are pure devotees. They are pious living entities, and their only reason to be born there was they wanted to give pleasure to Krishna. They were existing for the pleasure of Krishna. And so Prabhupada would say that any pure devotee, a person who gets so purified and gets qualified to go back home, back to Godhead, although that stage is very difficult. But anyway, the one who's qualified himself to that degree becomes so pure, then first that person gets a chance to be born in one of the universe where Krishna is performing his pastimes. He gets an opportunity to have like this pastimes with Krishna, or get trained under the other pure devotees. And then he goes back to the spiritual world. While playing like a small child with his associates, the Lord killed many demons, including Agasur, Bakasur, Pralambasur, and Gardhabasur. the Bhasur. Although he appeared at Vrindavan just as a boy, he was actually like the covered flames of a fire. As a small particle of fire can kindle a great fire with fuel, so the Lord killed all these great demons, beginning from his babyhood in the house of Nanda Maharaj. The land of Vrindavan, the Lord's childhood playground, still remains today, and anyone who visits these places enjoys the same transcendental bliss. So Nandagaon is still there, and we can visit there, and we can feel that spiritual potency of the Dham. We can feel the bliss. Although the Lord is not physically visible to our imperfect eyes. Lord Chaitanya recommended this land of the Lord as identical with the Lord and therefore worshipable by the devotees. This instruction is taken up especially by the followers of Lord Chaitanya, known as the Gaudiya Vaishnavas. Because the land is identical with the Lord, devotees like Uddhav and Vidur visited these places 5,000 years ago in order to have direct contact with the Lord, visible or not visible. So Lord Chaitanya said that the Dham where the Lord appears is non-different than him. It's non-different. And so the Gaudiya Vaishnavas, they specifically take up this and they like to visit the Dham. Gaudiya Vaishnavas are the Vaishnavas who are coming in the line of Lord Chaitanya. And Srila Prabhupada is also a Gaudiya Vaishnava in this same parampara. And thousands of devotees of the Lord are still wandering in the sacred places of Vrindavan. And all of them are preparing themselves to go back home, back to Godhead. So these are very, very fortunate, very special living entities. Of course, when we go to Vrindavan, we have to be careful because there are some who are not so, who are just pretending, because the times have degraded, and there are many people who are degrading in the dress of a devotee. They try to bewilder the others. So we should be careful who we are listening to, especially in Vrindavan area, in the Radha Kund area. So, any questions or comments?
No, I'm good.
We can stop here for today then. Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Shila Prabhupada ki jai, Gaurav Hari Hari. Thank you so much for joining in today. Have a Krishna.